Welcome, everyone. We are at RSA 2019. It's been so much fun talking with folks here. And, of course, it's going to be a lot of fun to talk to my good friend, JP. He's the CTO of Onapsis. JP, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's good to see you again.
Likewise, yeah.
Yeah, glad you come here and talk about. Now, you're giving a talk here at RSA.
Yeah.
And so what's the topic of this talk?
Breaches to ERP applications.
Wait, I thought those don't happen. No one talks about those. I don't see those covered in the...
Yeah, you're right. Actually, it doesn't happen, yeah.
Is that one of the things that I feel must frustrate you, is the kind of level of press when certain other technologies... Like, I see stories where they're like, oh, they can hack into a container ship and flip it over. And then if you really dig down, I see the research from, the fine folks at Onapsis, and I'm like, there's breaches in ERP systems. To me, that's way more impactful to society, to my daily life when I think about who uses ERP, right?
Absolutely.
Than someone who theoretically could hack into maybe a container ship or, a toaster or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and not only it's possible to do that type of compromises to ERP applications, which we have been talking for a long time already.
Oh, yeah. You were doing training at other conferences like Black Hat for many years.
Yeah, absolutely. And doing presentations and webcasts and really raising awareness. But lately we shifted towards speaking about what's actually happening. Because it's not only that it's possible, but it's really happening on multiple different levels. And to your point, we don't hear about it, right? Because typically organizations prefer to keep that really like low profile, and even if when you hear about a breach, you ask yourself, hey, what was stolen? Was it customer data? Was it IP? Was it? And if you think about it, where is that ultimately stored? It's in an ERP application, right?
Absolutely.
So a lot of those connections are typically not out there, but it happens, and we are typically pulled into organizations when they have issues with some of those ERP applications to do forensics investigations, incident response, and really provide visibility into what happened afterwards. Are
these targeted attacks, in your opinion?
I think there is a little bit of everything. What we have seen as an uptake on the last year is definitely an interest from state-sponsored and really building those capabilities around targeting ERP applications, because they know that there is some level of low-hanging fruit there, because organizations simply are not doing the basic security hygiene in those ERP applications, but also because they understand that that's where the data is, right? And we have seen many examples of targeted attacks exfiltrating financial reports, really performing attacks at the business level, and weaponizing that with a financial outcome, right?
And is it more of a nation-state attack? Because I feel like if I'm going to say I want to go attack an ERP system and I want to test it, right? Like with Microsoft Windows or Linux or a lot of open source, I can just go get them. I can test around. I can practice, develop my exploit. Is it nation-state because they can go purchase those systems or find those systems maybe on the dark web? I'm sure it happens too, but is that why it's probably more of a nation-state attack in some cases?
There is a component of really like being able to get access to the technology itself, and you need some resources to that level. But we have seen from last year a report really working with Digital Shadows on understanding what's happening out there. We have seen entire blog posts speaking about how to hack SAP applications, really like people asking for exploits specific of ERP technology.
On the dark web.
On open, deep, and dark web. So that was really eye-opener and definitely a huge milestone, which also drove another CERT alert, like the one in 2016. So it's definitely gaining momentum and attention from organizations. I think still we are a little bit away from really addressing the problem as it should be from these big corporations.
At a high level, JP, is it more of a smash and grab, or is it more of a stealthy attack? And to put that in a more technical manner, am I just executing an exploit, getting the database, pulling my data out, or inside of an ERP system, am I developing something that gives me persistence to constantly monitor, or is it kind of a mixture?
Actually, it's a mixture. We have seen like hacktivists really exploiting these applications because they can do it, and really going and putting one step on the organization. But also we have seen...
And probably wanted to release those financial information to do reputational damage or make a point as a hacktivist, right, with that data.
And it's not really like so much of an advanced attack.
Yeah.
It's something like really on that level. But then we have seen some threat actors that are closer to like these APTs and nation states that are really like getting a foot into the ERP application and then deploying malware and moving laterally and doing all that stuff that they do. They know how to do on the operating system level and on those different layers. They are doing that also on the ERP layer as well.
Interesting. So they're doing it on both the OS and the ERP layer.
And
now on the operating system layer, do similar protections exist like you would for other servers, or is it kind of less because it's such a mission critical application and performance is paramount? Like, do they have an easier time getting in the OS layer?
They typically have an easier time getting into the application layer because of how organizations simply operate. And it really depends on the organization what are the additional controls that they put on the OS and the database. Sometimes they have nothing. Sometimes they have the same controls that they have for all the other databases, also in the ERP. What we don't see in many organizations is something at the application level itself, right? That's where we go and help them.
Right. And so now, do you have software that can live inside of the ERP system and monitor that today? Yeah. Is that, I guess, what we talked about maybe last time too, right? Is you have some type of, I don't want to say agent because I think it's just too broad of a term, right? But you can monitor from within the ERP system. Exactly.
We have a tight integration into the ERP ecosystem that we can not only perform, of course, vulnerability assessment, compliance, configuration checks, patches, but also perform continuous monitoring. And some of the latest capabilities that we have are around preventing some of those risks, right? When someone wants to introduce an additional risk into the ERP landscape, we can block that and prevent that from...
That can be a legitimate user or an attacker?
Correct. If it's a legitimate user, he has a workflow for approvals and for really like going through that change. I mean, the organization could still accept that risk.
Sure.
Right?
Okay.
And if it's like an attacker,
sending an exploit, we can
prevent that.
Right. That's awesome. How has that been received by your customers?
I mean, they are all super happy. It had a great reception, just because telling them they have a lot of problems is not a solution by itself.
And tell them they need to apply patches. I mean, I even see it in some of the small things I work with. Like, you got to upgrade something. It can go wrong in any type of technology applying an update, and then you put that on an ERP system that's mission critical. We've had these discussions before. It's very hard to do an update on those systems. There's a lot of variables.
It's mission critical, compliant to many regulations, heavily customized, super complex. So a lot of different
not easy
things.
To have two of them either. To be like, oh yeah, we're just going to try it on the back. Like it doesn't work in this environment, right? Unless you got a lot of money to buy two of them. But most people don't do that, right? They've got one because it's such a large system and so complex.
Correct, and that's why we started investing on the solution side. Right? Automation and prevention capabilities, so they can stop the bleeding and prevent additional risks, but also we help them automate the solution of their existing risks. So it's definitely been well received.
Absolutely. So there were two CERT alerts. You mentioned one in 2016 for ERP applications. There was one more recently, correct? Yeah,
that was last year. The first one in 2016 was because we worked with the DHS providing information about specific vulnerability that was being exploited on internet-facing portals.
Yeah.
And then in 2018, after an extensive research that we did with
Digital Shadows, right? Yeah.
We found even additional evidence of campaigns targeting specific industries and specific organizations, which also incorporate ERP components as part of those campaigns. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I've had this discussion with Alex Horan before, but it was a few years ago since we had this conversation. When I look at the things that we can do with cloud and serverless and containers and how that can help solve the problem of updates being much better, even with just one system, the ability to switch back and forth and go, oh, that update didn't work, roll back, even that just a base functionality. Have you seen a migration to the cloud in ERP applications?
Okay, do you have like 2 hours?
Yeah.
let me summarize it. Yes, absolutely. So organizations are migrating to the cloud. What we see is they, especially in the ERP applications or the business critical applications, they go first to an infrastructure as a service play, where they work with Azure, GCP, AWS, SAP, Oracle, all those big IBM, like all those big cloud providers to run their existing technology, upgrade that, and put it in the cloud. That works very well for big organizations. Also, we are seeing a lot of cloud SaaS adoption. The trade-off there is that when it's SaaS, you have less of a capability to customize it. It's
totally
more
agree.
restricted.
Yep.
So you can adopt SaaS specifically when you can adopt standard processes and things that you don't need to change and customize heavily. For all that.
That's not everyone, though, because most people heavily customize these systems.
Especially the big enterprise sector. So for the mid-market and the very standard processes, SaaS is a good option.
That's good, yeah.
On the other end, for big organizations and really heavily customized business processes, you need to go to other model. Most
of this software does run on Windows, correct?
Correct. It runs on Windows. However, most a common platform would be Unix, Linux to support ERPs.
Okay. Yeah, so cloud is a great migration. If it's on the Windows side, they could go to Azure in Microsoft Cloud as well, right?
Even if it's not running on Windows, we still see a lot of Azure.
Yeah, sure, because they support Linux. Actually, they were like 40-something% Linux in the Azure cloud. That's good. I think that'll help it. So tell me about digital transformation. What does that mean? When I think of bigger ERP systems too, I think about like those big printers that like print out like big reports and stuff back in the day. Does that mean I can just get it on my phone now instead of waiting for a big, ribbon? What are those big printers, right?
Yeah. So digital transformation can mean so many things for each. For each one of us can mean a different thing. Organizations typically, that's a push for adopting the latest technology from the vendors and really adopt IoT, blockchain, machine learning, user experience, cloud, all in-memory technologies to be able to have a better business outcome, right? Like be able to reach out to more customers, be able to gain efficiencies in some processes. So in the ERP or business critical applications, we see a lot of that, adopting the latest technology from SAP and Oracle. Security has been historically has been a blocker on that innovation adoption. We are seeing this not only the opposite, but also an enabler and really reducing a lot of that time and cost of adoption, being positioned at the beginning and really as part of the key business objectives. It's been working very well for organizations.
It's awesome. In terms of auditing, it's interesting. We were actually talking last night about auditing and compliance and how that relates to security and how that's a different kind of audience. And I'm sure in ERP systems especially, the audit process is very important. I feel like they borrowed a page from mainframe, and security is very much about role-based access control and auditing. Is that still very much going on today? And have we seen a convergence between audit and security?
Yeah, auditors are definitely a good ally of security when they need to define what are the controls, what is the risk tolerance of the organization. In the ERP scenario, which is heavily audited, we see a lot of convergence between IT security and audit, a lot of automation to be able to really achieve true security. Security on ERP applications used to be regarded as a synonym of like role-based access control, authorizations, user profiles, whereas now we see auditors moving more towards really a true understanding of security, where they measure security configurations, patches, authorizations, and really understand all the technology risks that are out there, not just only focusing on users and authorizations.
That's awesome. And when is your talk, Jim?
It's today, I think around 4:30. So
Awesome. Well, best of luck. Thank you very much. It was nice catching up with you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here.